Hey guys, welcome back to Retro Bits. Now, I wasn't going to do any more unboxing videos, but I have a bunch of donations I need to thank people for, and a bunch of auction wins. So I'm going to show the items, we'll talk about them a little bit, but I won't do any unboxings. Sound good? All right, let's get started. All right, first up, we have a donation from Justin.
This is the Mouster. Its primary function is to adapt modern USB mice for use with a variety of vintage machines. Don't be fooled by its diminutive size, for it packs a ton of features into a small footprint. According to the device's website, it can be configured to work with the Commodore 64 and 128, Atari 8-bits and ST line, as well as all models of Amiga. Further, it claims to support nearly all USB mice, as well as PlayStation, Xbox, and USB gamepads, with new features being added constantly. Its tiny size should also make it ideal for use in the tight quarters of the Atari ST, where other larger adapters may not fit.
Now I do plan to test this out on all 3 supported machines in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. And thank you very much, Justin, for the donation of the Mouster.
Next up, we have a box of items that were donated by Catherine. Guesses as to what's in here? Does this cable look familiar? Okay, this should give it away if you haven't already figured it out. Yep, it's an original Sony PlayStation, complete with all the accessories, controllers, and a couple of games. At first glance, it looks to be really well cared for, but I'll still need to look into what tends to go wrong with these units as they age. I'm surprised to see Qbert make an appearance on something of this vintage, though. I never owned one of these back in the day, but a friend in school did and we played it all the time. My favorite game was Soul Blade, or Soul Edge in the arcade. We'd have some truly epic battles, and I remember using this super cheeseball move with a juggle and a triple pounce that took 50% of the opponent's health in a single combo. Good times.
Well, this is in terrific shape, and I'm looking forward to finding some of my old favorites and reliving some college memories. So thank you very much, Catherine, for the PlayStation 1. Next, we have a gift from Sean over at the Geek with Social Skills channel. I've been looking for a 1351 mouse for my Commodore forever, but I couldn't find one at a reasonable price. When Sean heard that I needed one, he immediately offered to send me this. He also sent in a note. Hey Matt, find enclosed the Commodore 1351 mouse for use with your Commodore 64 and/or 128 computer. It's in pretty good cosmetic condition and fully tested. Yeah, it looks really nice. And should serve you well for a very long time. Now that you have a proper mouse for your C64, hopefully you'll do more Commodore-related videos on your channel. Yeah, I hope so too. I have a lot planned. So, your friend in retro, Sean, Geek with Social Skills. And I've left a link to his channel in the description below.
I can already tell this mouse is in great shape. It operates smoothly, and there are no hitches or misclicks. It's so much better than using a joystick, which is what I had been doing up till now whenever I needed to fire up Geos.
Well, the mouse looks and functions perfectly, so thanks again to Sean. I finally have a 1351 again after almost 30 years. Next up is a bundle of stuff that was donated to the channel by Tom.
What we have here are some original Xbox accessories, including a Halo S controller, as well as a Release Edition controller, aka the Duke. A headset and AV cables round out the bundle. I still have my old Xbox, so it never hurts to have a few extra accessories around. I forgot how big these things were. It reminds me of that Penny Arcade comic titled The Rest of the Story. You can look it up.
Now, some will say that the Xbox isn't really retro, but it is 20 years old now, and in its day, once unlocked, it made an excellent media center and an emulation system, running MAME and console emulators all the way up to and including the Nintendo 64. So it really is a terrific retro system. Anyway, thank you, Tom, for the donation of the Xbox accessories.
Moving along to some auction finds, let's start with this Tandy 1000. It's one of the early models with an 8088 processor running at 4.7 MHz. Despite some yellowing, it looks to be in otherwise decent cosmetic condition and sports dual 360K drives. The machine was listed on eBay for parts or repair with a starting price of $100. The seller noted that it would not power up, nor would the fan come on. Being the bargain hunter that I am, I tossed a $75 make offer his way, and the deal was struck a minute later. A few days later, the box showed up at my door. The machine was well packaged and everything appeared to be in order. Of course, if you know my luck with shipping, you've already guessed that untold horrors were lurking just beneath the surface. Ugh, so yeah, it doesn't matter how well you bubble wrap a computer if all the parts inside aren't screwed down. This Tandy RAM expansion with DMA controller appears to be relatively unscathed, except for a few bent pins. The good news is that this machine appears to be a 1000 HD model. The bad news is that the OEM hard disk is both fragile and heavy. Having it rattling around loose during shipping can't have been good for it or the system. I'm guessing the hard card knocked this battery-backed BIOS chip right out of its socket and gave it a good mangling in the process. The power supply doesn't appear to be connected or secured. Someone's definitely been in here before, and I don't think they knew what they were doing. The last thing I noticed is this ISA slot. I'm not sure how the edge connectors on the card survived unscathed, while this was damaged so badly. Well, there are a lot of things to address here, and if nothing else, hopefully this 1000 will make an interesting project for Tandy. Stay tuned! Like many vintage systems, my Tandy 1000 had become separated from its original keyboard. If you've looked recently, you're already aware that sellers often price individual accessories as high as entire machines, and there's no way I'm paying those kind of prices. It took a while, but eventually I found this nice looking replacement on eBay that was listed with a starting bid of $85. It was untested, but looked good in the many pictures that were posted, so I made a $60 offer, and to my surprise, the seller accepted. The lesson here is that it pays to wait for a good deal to come along, and it never hurts to try a lowball offer first. I'm surprised how often it works, to be frank. Anyway, I feel like I simultaneously spent too much and got a great deal. Adapters for modern keyboards are available, but they cost nearly $50 by themselves, and I prefer to have the original parts wherever possible anyway. The keyboard looks and feels fine, but it's completely covered in this fine grit, so it'll need a deep cleaning. Both cork feet are present and accounted for, but there is something rattling around inside that'll need to be fixed. Ugh, I need to go wash my hands now. After Marcintosh, I started looking for a real 68K Mac to play around with. I found this Classic 2 on eBay from a local seller and won the auction uncontested at an opening price of $70. I reached out to the seller offering to pick it up, but never got a reply. A few days later, this showed up at my door. What do you think goes through someone's mind while they're packing a fragile computer in a box that's twice as big as it should be? Oh yeah, let me toss in a couple wadded up pieces of paper. That's looking real good. At this point, I'm not sure if it was simple negligence or spite. Surprisingly, the case and CRT appear to be in one piece. Well yeah, Apple designed it that way. Sorry, The system is pretty yellowed, but it's consistent throughout. It ought to clean up pretty well. The real question is, does it work? Well, that answers that. Another project for the queue. I got a full refund at least. Next up is a local Craigslist find. I forgot how much they were asking, but it was either 60 or 70 bucks. This is a Telegames Video Arcade, the Sears version of the Atari VCS Heavy Sixer. This will be my first 2600, although I certainly grew up in a time when these things were ubiquitous and remember playing them fondly. Included in the box were a pile of beat-up manuals along with a baker's dozen of games, including such classics as Asteroids, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, and Adventure. Oddly, these joysticks are from a Magnavox Odyssey 2. I wonder what happened to that particular machine. The system is filthy and will need a thorough cleaning, but otherwise appears to be in good physical condition. I haven't tried powering it on yet though. I think a recap and composite mod are in this Atari's future. All in all, I think it was a fair price for this collection of stuff, and I'm glad to finally own a 2600 given its important place in gaming history.
So I've mentioned several times that I want to do a series on old school, non-linear fan subbing using the Laserdisc player, Amiga, and Super VHS deck. In order to make that happen, I needed my old Genlock, and I couldn't find it for the life of me. I either misplaced it or gave it away, I'm not sure. So I spent several years looking for a suitable replacement at a decent price, and I finally found this GVP G-Lock, which I showed in a previous unboxing video. This is the exact model that I used to use back in the day.
Well, when it rains it pours, because after the GVP, I found not one, but two more great deals. The first was this ProGen Genlock, complete with manual and software. Shortly after that, a SuperGen SX, the Cadillac of Amiga Genlocks, turned up. The ProGen only works with composite sources. The SuperGen, on the other hand, supports composite and S-Video, a feature that was somewhat rare among the many offerings of the day, but one my original GVP had. Take a look at some of the current asking prices on these things. Now you see why it took me so long to find a good deal on one. I still can't believe I found three, nearly all at the same time no less. I didn't really need the ProGen, but it looked nice and it was listed for $10 with free shipping. At that price, they were basically giving it away, and who can say no to that? The SuperGen is a real professional unit, retailing for $750 US in 1993, or $1,400 today. It features sliders to manually fade the video source and computer overlay, as well as computer control capabilities and a built-in notch filter. At $20 plus shipping, it seemed too good to pass up, so I didn't.
So at those prices, I really couldn't pass them up. The good news is, now if one of them doesn't work, at least I have backups. Now all I need is time to make that series, and it's going to be pretty in-depth, spanning multiple episodes, so I'll get around to it one of these days.
Now, you've already seen this monitor once in the 1351 mouse segment. It's just another old Dell LCD, right? Right. This is the 2007 FP 20-inch model, and the reason I went out of my way to buy one on eBay is because unlike other Dell panels that operate at 1024 by 768 or 1280 by 1024, this unit has a native resolution of 1600 by 1200. Why is that important? Because it's a perfect 5x multiple of 320 by 240. Paired with the Mr. FPGA or other vintage systems, native 240p output can be scaled in whole integers, yielding a clear, distortion-free image that fills the entire 4x3 screen edge to edge. This model sports DVI, VGA, composite, and S-video inputs, making it pretty versatile. Like most Dell models of the era, it supports a powered soundbar, but is unable to handle audio from an HDMI source, as only the video signal is backwards compatible with the older DVI standard. If I could change one thing about this model, it would be to accept a 15 kHz RGB signal without an external upscaler. That would make it pretty much perfect. Alas, we're going to have to settle for very good instead. Time for one last eBay find before we wrap this up. What we have here is a lot of cartridges for the TI-99/4A, complete in original boxes. I really dig the artwork on these. It makes the games seem a lot more interesting than perhaps they really are. TI hardware and software prices generally aren't that bad, but can vary wildly. At only $2.50 a piece plus shipping, how could I not pick these up?
Alright, that's it for this unboxing episode. Thank you to everybody who donated items. You'll see them again in upcoming episodes. Also, I'd like to shout out to my brand new Patreon members. Thank you guys for supporting the channel and helping it to grow. And if you'd like to support RetroBits yourself, please consider becoming a patron using the link below. I hope you enjoyed this bit, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on RetroBits.